In the late 19th century, Pasadena, California became an icon of mild winters and gilded opportunity. Its citrus groves and rose bushes thrived where visitors from the snowbound east dreamed of sun. Winters in the San Gabriel Valley were famously temperate, and health seekers and land speculators from the Midwest and East Coast flocked to Pasadena's sunny avenues and hotel porches. Local boosters formed the Valley Hunt Club, a small but influential group of hunters, equestrians, and businessmen determined to brand Pasadena as a winter paradise. They wanted a single, decisive spectacle to prove the city's floral abundance and draw tourists during the slow season. On November 20th, 1889, the club formalized plans for a public pageant, and on January 1st, 1890, they put that plan into action. The first Tournament of Roses parade rolled through Pasadena as a promotional civic spectacle. Flower-bedecked carriages, riders garlanded in roses, and marching ensembles paraded along the streets to showcase blossoms that would be impossible in eastern winters. The aim was clear: show Pasadena's mild climate and floral bounty to visiting newspapermen, potential residents, and vacationers. The result was immediate regional attention, with press dispatches praising the novelty and inviting newcomers to spend the season in Southern California. That inaugural procession crystallized the boosters' ambitions and set a trajectory far beyond a local promotion. What started as a small civic stunt would soon aspire to become a national New Year's pageant, laying the groundwork for spectacle, sport, and the stadium building that followed. On January 1st, 1890, Pasadena gave its boosters exactly what they wanted: a sunlit procession of horse-drawn carriages and phaetons cloaked entirely in roses. Riders wore garlands like sashes, local brass bands threaded martial strains through the mild winter air, and the Valley Hunt Club's tableau moved deliberately through downtown beneath banners of blossoms. Men in frock coats and women in high-collared gowns were framed by arches of petals. Carriage wheels were swathed in chrysanthemums and carnations, and even the Hunt Club's hounds wore sprays of floral ribbon. Neighbors, hotel proprietors, citrus growers, seasonal visitors from the east, and school children lined the curbs to applaud. Some joined costumed tableaus that dramatized agricultural abundance and civic confidence. Reporters from the Los Angeles Times and other California papers dispatched vivid accounts and illustrations, carrying images of roses and sunny avenues to readers back east and magnifying the parade's promotional value. Subscribe. Maybe it would have solved crowd control. The spectacle did more than charm. It also exposed immediate logistical realities. Streets clogged far longer than organizers had planned. Impromptu vendors appeared selling refreshments and souvenirs, and the club confronted questions of crowd control, carriage spacing, and where to source the vast numbers of blooms needed if the event were repeated. Floral costs, volunteer labor, and the sheer volume of petals forced Valley Hunt Club members into practical meetings to codify committees, secure funding, and formalize routes. Moves recorded in club minutes and local notices in the weeks that followed. The parade produced measurable effects. Rail traffic and hotel inquiries rose in the days after January 1st, and Pasadena's civic leaders read the press reports as a business opportunity, not merely a charming diversion. Conversations shifted from a single ornamental procession to visions of an annual New Year's attraction that could include athletic contests, greater pageantry, and commercial sponsorship. That shift from one lavish afternoon to organized ambition supplied the momentum that carried organizers into planning larger spectacles, athletic exhibitions, and the infrastructural investments that appear in Act 2. Boosters moved quickly from floral pageantry to bigger entertainments, convinced athletics could anchor Pasadena's New Year spectacle and draw long-distance tourists and rail passengers to sunny Southern California. Tournament of Roses committees negotiated with colleges and, amid civic fanfare, arranged a collegiate football game for January 1st, 2002 in Pasadena. The University of Michigan, led by Fielding H. Yost and his famed point-a-minute machine fresh off its dominant 1901 season, versus Stanford University. Organizers sold the matchup as a test of mettle and a headline attraction to complement the flower-bedecked carriages and costume tableaus. Newspapers from the Los Angeles Times to Eastern Wire Services framed the contest as proof of Pasadena's ambition. When the teams met on New Year's Day 2002, the game proved brutally one-sided. Michigan routed Stanford 49-0, a result that stunned spectators and editors. The blowout exposed practical limits boosters had not fully anticipated. The The competitive gap between big Midwestern programs and emerging West Coast teams, the logistical strain of hosting distant squads and thousands of visitors, and the risk that a predictable mismatch could undercut the festival's celebratory tone. Contemporary press accounts mixed awe at Yost's precision with disappointment from local boosters who had hoped for dramatic, closely fought sport rather than decisive domination. In the weeks that followed, tournament planners made a clear, pragmatic choice. Football, as staged in 2002, was not yet the reliable centerpiece they wanted. The association pivoted toward novelty contests, chariot races, polo exhibitions, and theatrical displays, events that guaranteed spectacle and crowd satisfaction while lowering the risk of another embarrassing mismatch. That shift was not a retreat from ambition, but a strategic recalibration. Organizers improved crowd management, expanded sponsorship outreach, and began inviting more evenly matched athletic programs. Those lessons seeded the institutional learning that would eventually bring football back in a stronger, more sustainable form and set the stage for the infrastructure and national ambitions explored in the next act. After the disappointment and lessons of 1902, Pasadena's boosters stopped experimenting and began organizing with municipal energy. The Tournament of Roses Association and city leaders turned civic enthusiasm into steady fundraising drives, bond measures, subscription campaigns, and negotiated land use in the Arroyo Seco to build a purpose-built bowl. By 1922, construction proceeded on a permanent stadium in the Arroyo Seco, financed by tournament committees and local subscriptions, because boosters now understood why a fixed venue mattered. A permanent bowl would solve the attendance chaos of one-off sites, centralize operations, and convert fleeting pageantry into an annual economic engine. The new Rose Bowl offered fixed seating for tens of thousands, formalized ingress and egress with turnstiles and reserved sections, and created space for press boxes and scoreboards that national wire services and metropolitan papers could rely on. Those practical gains reshaped the relationship between parade and game. The floral procession moved from a street spectacle that dissipated into downtown to a calibrated lead-in that funneled celebrants to the stadium gates, transforming the parade into both prelude and ticketed invitation. With a permanent venue, the tournament could negotiate contracts, invite evenly matched collegiate powers, and plan months in advance for accommodations, rail timetables, and hotel room blocks, turning uncertain spectacle into predictable commerce. Operationally, the stadium professionalized volunteer labor into paid staff, created reliable revenue through ticketing and concessions, and made crowd control a matter of design rather than improvisation. Symbolically, the bowl converted Pasadena's booster narrative into national promise. New Year's Day was no longer merely a local advertisement for mild winters and roses. It became a stage for collegiate drama on a grand scale, setting a new axis for attendance, media presence, and the cultural forces that would elevate the pageant into a national ritual. When the Rose Bowl became a permanent fixture and the parade was reorganized into a planned procession, Pasadena's New Year ritual transformed into a national media event. Automobiles replaced horse-drawn carriages in the early 20th century, and floats evolved from static floral wagons to motorized platforms with electric motors and hydraulic lifts that animated reclining figures, rotating tableaus, and unfolding scenic panels. Lighting moved beyond simple bulbs to synchronized rigs and early neon outlines, letting dawn and twilight presentations read brilliantly on camera. Tournament of Roses committees, the Pasadena Chamber of Commerce, and advertisers courting the Southern Pacific Railroad's winter tourist trains intentionally cultivated big-budget floats and paid pageantry as travel bait. At the same time, commercial radio's expansion in the 1920s and the rise of national television networks by mid-century brought descriptions, play-by-play, and moving pictures of January 1st festivities into living rooms from New York to Chicago. Sponsors and networks wanted spectacle that scanned well on air. Larger crowds, engineered camera sightlines at the Rose Bowl, and mechanically animated floats became prerequisites. The result was decisive. Floriculture, mechanical engineering, booster capital, and broadcast distribution fused into a coast-to-coast New Year's Day ritual that turned Pasadena boosterism into an American television tradition and set the stage for the cultural impact that followed. The Tournament of Roses began in Pasadena on January 1st, 1890. Anchored later by the Rose Bowl Stadium, which opened in 1922, it turned New Year's pageantry into a national ritual. Over time, it forged a durable civic brand roses, sunshine, and collegiate spectacle that still powers Pasadena's tourism and municipal identity. It also helped advance float engineering. Motorized platforms, electric illumination, and hydraulic lifts developed for the parade influenced designs seen in other national spectacles such as the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Broadcast practices evolved alongside it too. Radio in the 1920s and television by mid-century forced tighter camera sightlines, precise timing, and sponsor-friendly staging that became prototypes for live sports telecasts. Economically, the parade created a persistent tension between commercial-scale sponsors, networks, and big budgets, and the event's floral volunteer roots. Tournament rules that require natural materials and an organized volunteer corps are direct responses to that balance. Local businesses still benefit from visitor spending and broadcast rights, reinforcing Pasadena's civic brand. The result is an enduring, gilded civic ritual that shaped parade engineering and broadcast practice, and a lingering question: how far can spectacle grow before it overshadows the roses that started it?